Hello everyone, and welcome back. In my first video, I went over the most basic commands I could think of to get you started in the Linux CLI. If you haven't seen that video, I'll post a link in the description for you to check out. Today, I wanted to go a little bit more in depth with the ls command, mainly because there are some other useful flags that you can use to list the files and directories on the system. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, so like I said, last time we covered the ls command as one of the primary commands. We use it to list the contents of a directory that's on the file system. And as you recall, ls-l, the long listing, that's one of my favorite ones. I use it most of the time just because, like I said, there's a lot of information that I typically want to see. So we went over how I can list one file. So if I do file 1, I can see just the output for that file. I also showed how you can do it on a directory. So if I do ls-l my directory, remember the shortcut with the tab key, I'm able to shorthand my, hit tab, and it'll autofill because that file or directory is unique enough. And when I hit enter here, it actually shows me what's in this directory. And this leads me into the first flag that I wanted to go over. So let's say I want to find information about this directory in particular, and only this directory. Like maybe I'm scripting something, or maybe I just want to be more efficient. And just say, okay, just show me this directory's information. As you can tell, if I use ls-l on the directory, it shows me the contents of the directory, and I want to see information about the directory itself. So with ls, we have a flag, which is -d, and what that does, so I'm going to use the L and just stack the D with it. And the D is just to only filter and show the directory itself. So don't show the contents of a directory, but show the directory itself. Or if there are multiple directories within a path that I'm looking, it'll show me all the directories and only the directories without going into them. And you'll see what I mean here. So I'm going to do my directory, and this time when I hit enter, I don't see the contents of the directory, but instead I see information about the directory itself. And like I said, this can be useful because whenever you're troubleshooting, ownership and permissions, like I said before, is a big problem that you can run into. It's super simple. A lot of times it gets overlooked, but once we go more in depth with the permissions and ownership and how that works on Linux, you'll understand why this is such a big deal. But basically, if I can't access a certain directory, then I can't access things beyond that directory either, typically. There are some exceptions. You can actually give access to a directory without viewing it. Like I said, that's more advanced. We'll go over that in another video. But in this case, like I said, using the D flag to just show the directory itself, will be useful whenever you're troubleshooting, especially permissions or anything like that. So, like I said, -D shows only the directories, doesn't show the contents. Very useful flag. All right, so now that we've covered that one, I want to go into another flag that I think is very useful, and this is the S flag. So I'm going to clear the screen here. So I'm going to do ls-l again, but this time, actually, I'm going to take away the L. I'm going to just do the S, capital S here, and I'm going to run it. And so let's compare the output to just ls itself. Notice the files are in a different order. And the reason why is the -S flag will sort the files within the directory by size. So I'll do a ls-l, and then we can tell that my directory is the biggest file. On Linux, pretty much everything is stored as a file, even directories. So that's why there's a size associated with this directory. But whenever we sort it with -S, that's why my directory is first. We see that README is next. It's got 13 bytes there, and then file 1 is empty. There's 0 bytes. So that's why whenever we use -S, it just sorts it in by the largest file on top. And we'll run that again, ls-l with the capital S. We're just going to stack it, and we can confirm that output there. So this is a useful flag. A lot of times, if you're trying to find a file that's written to a lot, typically it's going to be the largest file within a directory. You can sort by -s. And as we went over before, you can actually use the lowercase r. So I'm going to do ls-l. I'm going to do lowercase r and then capital S. So I'm going to do a long listing. I'm going to reverse the order when I sort by size. So maybe it'll make more sense if I do capital S and then R. So we'll do a long listing, sort by size, and then reverse it. So in this case, the largest file is on the bottom, and like I said, this is useful because typically your eyes are at the prompt and they just go up very quickly, and you can see the largest file within a directory. So that covers the -S or capital S flag, and it will allow you to show the files and sort them by the size within a directory. All right, so the next flag I want to go over, I think it goes very well in hand with the capital S flag. It also works well with the -L for long listing, and this is because when we see the size, especially with -L, we see it in how many bytes the file is or directory. And -H is what I want to cover. So ls, I'm going to run it here, ls-lh. And what we'll notice is, so the 4096 that we saw for my directory now shows us as 4 kilobytes. And -H, what it does is it just shows it in human readable form. That's how I remember it is. Just I want to understand it better. A lot of times when you get to megabytes and gigabytes, you get a lot of numbers there, and it's in bytes, and you're doing the calculations in your head to say, okay, how many megabytes is this, or how many gigabytes? And doing it with the -H just simplifies it for us. It makes it easier for us to understand. Um, and as I said as well, so I'll do ls-l. I'm going to add the capital S. And then I want to use the H to make it human readable. So I'm going to do a long listing. I'm going to sort it by the size, and then I want the size to also be represented in a human readable format. So once again, we've got the largest file up top, the smallest on the bottom, and just for fun, we'll go ahead and we're going to do another one. We're going to use -L for long, -S to sort by size. We're going to do H for human readable, and then we're going to throw in the lowercase r. So we've got 4 flags going with the ls command, and we're going to do a lot of basically a lot of things to show the output the way we want to see it. And that's what's nice about the command line interfaces. You can pass all these flags very easily. Once you get comfortable with the system, like these just come to you, and you just know exactly how you want to see it, and you pass the flags. And this is kind of just starting to show a little bit of the benefits. In a GUI system, you typically have to click a bunch of column names, and you'll sort different ways, and it's kind of difficult to sometimes see the files the way you want to see it. But in this case, the flags, you just pass them really quickly, and you can see it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter. And like I said, now when our eyes move up, the very first thing we see is the largest file. It's in human readable format, so we know it's 4 kilobytes, not 4096 bytes. And like I said, it's just an easy way for us to view the files within this directory. Okay, and then another flag that I want to show you that I find useful. This one, it kind of is a better way to view files, in my opinion, versus just simply using ls. So I know a lot of people who just like to use ls. They don't like to use the long listing. They just care about, okay, what files are there, what directories are there. The directories are typically another color. As we see on this screen, they're blue. So some people are okay with that. I don't know why. It hasn't stuck with me. I like the long listing better. But when I'm scripting, I found one that I thought was useful. And this is the -1 flag. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the screen here. Just a freebie there. Clear. If you type clear on the CLI, it'll clear the screen, and obviously you can clear your display, so that way you can work with a little less stuff in your window there. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show the output of ls, which we've seen. Now I'm going to do ls-1 and hit enter. So like I said, what I like about this is with the long listing, the files are just stacked on top of each other. Maybe that's why I'm used to, or why I like the ls-1. Um, but it just shows me the file name by itself, no other data, just the file name, and it shows them one on top of the other. I also like to use this whenever uh, if I want to take the output of a directory and write it to a file. Sometimes you do that maybe when you're scripting something, which scripting is when you take a series of commands, put them together to perform a repetitive action on the system. And this is almost like a human readable format for me, because if I do an ls command and then I feed that into a file, well, if I view it, I just see a line with a bunch of files in there. And typically I like to feed this through a loop, and the loop will read one at a time and then process it however I want to. And whenever I store store data within a file using the -1, if it's for the directories of a file system, when I go to view that file, each line being its own, have each row having its own data, I just think that's a little bit easier to read for me. Like I said, other people, ls might be just fine for them. I like -1, and like I said, particularly in scripting, if I want to get output and show it, this is just an easier way for me to view files. Like I said, that's all it really does. It just takes the output and says, all right, I'm going to show it in a column view versus showing everything separated, by a few spaces or something like that. So. All right, and the final flag that I want to go over with you guys today is it's not the lowercase r. This is going to be the capital R. So there's a reason why before I was specifying the lowercase r, and because that'll do sort everything in reverse order. Now, I added some other directories and files here earlier, and so currently we're going to go back to my first video, pwd, to see where we are. I'm in my home directory. Great. So when I do an ls-l, I see my directory. I can do ls-l, my directory, hit enter, and as we can see here from last time, there's now a new directory, that directory. And what I could do is I could say, okay, you know what, maybe I want to list my directory and then that directory and hit enter. All right, so there's some files there. But this is what's nice about the -r. So this is for a recursive listing. So what we're going to do, I'm going to clear the screen again just to make some room. I'm going to do ls-l. I'm going to do capital R. So I'm in my home directory. We should see file 1. We should see readme.txt. We should also see my directory. But what the -R is going to do is it's going to look into the directory that's there, and it's going to list those contents. And then because there's a directory within that one, it's going to go further recursively again, and it's going to look into that directory and then show me the contents there. And it would keep going on and on and on until it's found every directory and it's listed everything that's from that point upwards on the file system. So, so like I said, in this case, there's not too many files. I'm going to just hit enter. And what we see is it's telling me right here. So this is saying, okay, the contents of dot, or this directory, is this, which we're aware of. And then it found my directory. So it said, okay, this directory / my directory. Those are the contents there. We've got another file, that directory, that file, and this file. And then we see the last output is it went into from my directory to that directory, and we see the contents there. And then from that point on, there were no more directories, so it stopped. There was no more recursion to happen. And so this is just an easy way, whenever you know that you don't have too many files. Once you get to so many files, ls-l capital R will give you a lot of output, like just pages and pages and pages worth. You can use other commands to filter it, but typically the ls command with the -r, I only really use it for smaller systems unless I'm filtering it out with another command, which we'll go over in the future. But like I said, that's the last one I wanted to show you guys, the -R, and that will just recursively look into every directory, show you the contents, files and directories. And if it finds more directories, it'll show you those as well. Like I said, very useful tool, especially if you're looking for something in particular, or maybe you just want to verify the files that should be there or should not, things like that. So All right, guys. So that's it. I just wanted to go over a few more flags for the ls command. In the first video, those were what I thought were the most basic ones in order to navigate the file system and then show the contents of the directories and things like that. Um, these ones, I would say they're maybe a little bit more advanced. You can use the system without them, but I tend to use these fairly often myself, so that's why I want to share them with you. Um, like I said, stacking them, you can sort everything in a particular manner that's useful for you. So there's not a right or wrong way to view the files. It's as long as you know what you're doing within that directory, that you get the information that you need to perform whatever needs to be done. That's what determines when you use which flag on the system. So I hope you enjoyed those. I appreciate you guys joining me. And until next time, take care and God bless.